Thanks, everybody, for listening to the first ever Nightlife podcast, discussing everything that is Northwest High School. In this episode, we are joined by our host, Bill Bangert. He's a Northwest alum, class of 79. And our guests are Principal Susan Smith and head football coach Lee Johnson. We talk about all the new things that are going on and exciting new things that are going on here at Northwest High School during the 2017-18 school year. We review everything that's been going on with our athletic programs here thus far in the fall, and Coach Johnson previews our contest against the Edgewood Cougars. And we also talk about supporting students with Restorative Practices, a district initiative that has really taken off here at Northwest High School. So enjoy the listen, and thanks for tuning in.
Welcome to Nightlife. I'm Bill Bangert, 1979 grad of Northwest High School. We have Brad Watkins, the athletic director from Northwest High School, here today.
Hey, Bill.
How's it going?
Glad to be here, man.
We also have Susan Smith, the Northwest High School principal, and football coach Lee Johnson. Welcome, all of you. Appreciate you doing this. Our very first try going through. We'll try to be gentle on everyone and not break anything today.
Great.
Let's start out with Susan, with you. What's some new things happening at Northwest High School for the 2017-2018 school year?
We've had a great start to the year. We've added 6 new teachers this year, 3 in our science department, 1 in special ed. We have a new choral music teacher who started this year. We're super excited that we got him on staff, and an English teacher. And we've also added a few courses. So we have American Sign Language now as an offering in our foreign language department for students to be able to take, as well as we have added an ACT prep course.
Okay.
So to get students ready to take the ACT now, all juniors take it one time for free in the state of Ohio. So we wanted to make sure that we had a course that would prep them to take that. In terms of other new things that are going on, we have a new partnership with Queen City Tees, and we have a shirt of the week for each of our football games, which we haven't had in the past.
Okay. Is there like a different theme for the opponent? Or?
Yes, there's a different theme. So, for example, this week is Hawaiian theme.
Okay.
So they took our logo, and he has a lei on, and they're giving away free leis with the T-shirts. Okay. So our student section, I would say, is the best it's been in 5 years since I started here. And so Queen City Tees has been a huge part of that. So they can turn around our orders quickly, and people can order online or through our Spirit Shop, which has completely been revamped, with a partnership that we have through Butler Tech, and our DECA students are running the show, and they're learning marketing skills and sales skills through Queen City Tees. They're kind of mentoring our students.
Well,
so it's a great real-life experience for our kids.
Right.
And we've just seen the effects of that. I mean, like I said, the spirit from our students seems to be ramped up, just from having more gear and a way to show off their pride. So
is that every home game or every game?
Every game.
Every game, wow.
So, yeah, and they, so we're hoping to travel a little better this year, right, Mr. Watkins?
Absolutely.
And get some kids on the road with us, but we have 5 home games in a row. So we're in the middle of a very long home stint.
All right.
Yes, with our football team.
All right.
And I know these guys will get into our other sports teams as well. And then we have some new initiatives for this year. There's a new House Bill 410 that states that students need to be at school at least 95% of the school year. And so we have really tried to focus in on making sure that we help students who have difficulty getting to school. And that's for a plethora of reasons. Things at home, we don't have busing at the high schools. So people have difficulties finding rides and ways to school. And so we've really worked on trying to find ways to problem solve and help troubleshoot some of the reasons kids are not able to get to school, and hone in on those and provide services. So if there's something that we can help with to get them to school, we want to be able to do that. Because obviously then that leads to 2 other things. Their grades suffer if they're not here, test scores suffer, those kinds of things. So we want to make sure that, we're getting kids to school, and we appreciate when they're here and want them here and learning with our students. So.
Okay. All right.
It's one of our initiatives for this year.
All right. Any other projects or partnerships we should talk about at this point?
I know that I'm going to turn it over to Brad, his baby. We built a castle, so I'm going to let him talk about that.
And it's been years since I've been here, and obviously a lot of things have changed. This technology center that we're recording this in is amazing. Right. And granted, I graduated almost 40 years ago, which just blows my mind. So obviously things are going to change in 4 decades. But what did you want to bring up?
Yeah, just the project of the castle kind of came on last year, when I came into the job 3 years ago, building Camelot was kind of put in my lap as far as a campaign for improvements to all facilities around campus, specifically our athletic facilities, and that's been a capital campaign that's stretched, going into probably 5 years now. And I kind of got the torch from Mr. Pollitt, my predecessor, and passed it along to me. And we've been able to do some things with the help of our Boosters Association here at Northwest to really get out in the community and do some really neat facelift things. The turf and the track last year being completed has just been tremendous to be able to host events here on our campus and give kind of a lifeblood to the community and a place to be, on a Friday night or on a Saturday morning or a Tuesday evening or Thursday evening for soccer. It's just been really neat. So to kind of put a capstone on everything that's going on the back half of that athletic complex was we wanted to make a grand entrance, right? Mm-hmm. And Susan had said, wouldn't the castle be neat? And I said, you know what? That's a really great idea. And we do have great partnerships with Butler Tech and our programs, digital media that we're recording in now, and our construction classes that we have through the guidance of instructor Donnie Kelly. So I got with Donnie last spring, and I said, Donnie, it looks like we're going to have some money. I think we can maybe do like a small ticket booth that resembles a castle. It's like, yeah, we could do that. That small ticket booth has blossomed into this giant castle that is
it catches your eye.
That is definitely an eye catcher and something that I think the kids are proud of. We kind of dedicated it last week before the game, and to see the kids that have worked all summer on their own, they volunteered their time, and to see this castle be erected and be functional and have people walk through it, and our football team goes through and marches through the castle on their way onto the field. It's a really cool visual, but it's also going to be something very special for generations to come, because those guys, I can't tell you how many kids have worked on it and say, Mr. Watkins, I'm going to be able to bring my kid back here and say I built this. And I said, yes, you are. Yeah. And so they're already kind of seeing that impact, and that's the benefits of completing a project like that are endless. Just all the experiences that the kids have had and the impact that it's going to have on the facility itself. Right. So we're really proud of the castle.
And it establishes something of a tradition. Like there's at Clemson, they go down and they touch this rock or something, and there's other traditions around in high school and college around the nation. So
we speaking of that, we had to kind of take a step back after the first week because we noticed the kids hit the top of the entrance, kind of like the play like a champion at Notre Dame type thing. Right. And they're doing it, and it's cool, but we just built it. So we went back and reinforced it last week to make sure that it's sturdy enough so those kids can have touch the rock type thing. So it's pretty cool. But that's excellent. We're heading into we're getting our bearings after this castle project, and we're going to move forward with really here in the latter part of the fall and into the winter and into the spring of getting some capital campaigns, still continue with building Camelot, and we're going to continue those efforts to kind of move forward on some projects that were outlined in the initial inception of the concept of building Camelot. That's going to include facelifts to our baseball and softball areas, which we've done. We've been able to do a lot of good things with getting the fields playable in that over the last 2 years. Crushed red brick, really nice playing surface for the kids. We're not losing games due to field conditions now. But we definitely need to turn our eye to, how can we make those facilities better as well? Just, stands, those types of things. And hopefully, eventually, we'll get to the point where we can also include visitor bleachers in the stadium, which I know that is a big. I've heard that cry from the community. So we're going to get our bearings here in the latter part of the fall and into the winter, and we're going to get going on the other stuff. It never ends, man.
Great. Well, that's good to hear. Let's talk about restorative practices and how that supports students. What are restorative practices?
So last year we started this initiative we wanted a framework around improving relationships with students, from staff to students, all students, and we were trained, literally every staff member. This is the first training where whether you work in the cafeteria, drive a bus, are a secretary, are a teacher, are an administrator, every single person was trained on this. And it's really just, it kind of revolves on two different things. One is having high expectations for students, and one is having and the other is having high support. So in addition to making sure kids are doing what they need to do here, focused on learning, additionally, we're supporting our students who come to us with a plethora of needs. And so this kind of Restorative just created a framework. And so it's that each classroom is its own environment. And if a student harms that environment, then how do we restore the environment? Oh, okay. That's where the restorative word comes into play. And so this year we're into year 2. Last year in the initial implementation, we wanted to make sure teachers understood this wasn't just the next best thing, right? This wasn't just going to be a one-year fix and then, well, we don't do restorative anymore. It was really a culture shift to, again, make sure that we're holding our students accountable and that we're also showing them support, and not just, things are not just punitive all of the time. And so now in year 2, we're seeing that teachers are much more at ease, kind of going through the processes with kids. It involves a lot of conversations. So before things get heightened or in the middle of a heightened situation, just kind of taking a step back and saying, why is this happening? What can we do to support you as a student? And a lot of times it's outside environmental factors that are being brought to school. Okay. So it's kind of how do we work through some of those things? And so we see a lot of, if you walked in the halls now, there's a lot of probably impromptu hallway conversations happening with kids. So that our first reaction isn't, we'll go to the office.
Right.
How do we keep them in class learning? How do we keep them feeling like, we're not just kicking you out? And so we've worked really hard to kind of shift the culture so that we're here to, support kids, but also that doesn't mean that all the rules go out the window and everything's loosey-goosey. Right. So we're in year 2 of that, and we've seen that kind of spill over into everything else that we do. So
how so?
You'll see coaches, we'll work with Brad, we'll work with parents to say, okay, our team needs to be restored in some way. There's been an issue, whether that's student to student, coach to student. And so it involves a lot of circle discussions. And so we don't say, let's circle up, but that's what ends up happening. Okay. So something like similar to how we're sitting now would be all the kind of players in the game to say, what happened? How do we move past this? How do we move forward? What were you thinking at the time? To kind of take the student's perspective into account. Maybe they're seeing something that we're not as adults, and what can we do to help them through the situation? So,
how do you feel like the students are accepting this or buying in?
It's funny, they are, and they'll say, they'll kind of anticipate what we're going to say. So they're like, I'll be in the hallway. You probably want to talk to me. They go a step ahead of us, or kids have started asking for circles. If they're having an issue with another student, they'll ask an administrator or teacher, can we circle up? I just want to talk to her about why she's saying this about me or why he was acting that way towards me. And so we kind of have a step in between a heightened bad situation. We're all kind of taking a step back and saying, is there something we can do to prevent, an awful situation? So kids are asking for circles and anticipating, you're going to ask me to step in the hallway, aren't you, to their teachers. So it's good.
And I think one of the cool things about restorative practices that we're now seeing and going into year 2 that we kind of laid the groundwork in year 1 is the kids being willing and knowing that we're okay. It's okay to tell us how you're feeling about a situation. Okay. Our staff has done a tremendous job of. Restorative kind of puts a framework on things that teachers do innately, and we have a wonderful staff that was kind of already there and working with kids and wanted to build those relationships anyway. But Restorative puts it into context, gives a little bit of framework, and it's more to empower the kids to let them know that this is the framework in which we're working in, and it's okay for you to tell us how you're feeling about a situation or why you reacted that way. The biggest thing I like about it, and Susan hit on a little bit, that I try and relay to my coaches in the athletic department is that high expectation, high support. And I feel very confident that each one of our coaches, and Coach can get into this, but having those high expectations for kids, they want that. We all do. We want to be held to a high standard. Right. We all want to meet that high standard in life, whether you're a young adult or, a 34-year-old man. We got to have expectations. We want to hit those high marks, but we also want to feel like we're supported. So, our teachers in the building are doing it. It's trickling on to our athletic fields, and it's making a great impact in all of our athletic teams. But I can see a real impact on our football team with, 65 young men out there. So
that's excellent.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk athletics. Tell us about how the various sports are doing in the fall programs.
We've got a young group, I think, across the board in all of our fall sports. Whether it's football with, we were blessed there with, a graduating 2017 class that had seen a lot of game action. We lost a lot of seniors last year. So even our juniors are getting on the field kind of for the first time. And juniors and seniors that have been kind of just waiting in the wings there to get on that varsity football field on Friday night, and from my perspective, they've met the expectation, and they've done a tremendous job thus far of performing. I think that's consistent with all of our athletic teams. We're young in soccer, both boys and girls. Unfortunately, this year numbers are a little low, but we've got kids out there that on a varsity field that are working their tails off. New coaches, both in girls and boys soccer.
Okay.
Kind of little program shift and mind shift, and our head coach, our girls coach, Sarah Medico, has done a tremendous job of taking the ball and running with it, literally.
Right.
She's just done a great job of putting some structures in place, and the girls are having a good time. Implemented a weight program and a weight regimen. Mitch Morgan, our new boys soccer coach, is doing the same thing. High expectations, high support. Both those coaches fit that mold and holding our kiddos to high expectations and giving them support and the tools they need to have fun out there, and have some success.
Anytime you have a coaching change, though, it's always
yeah.
Sometimes there's some growing pains, and people have to get used to a different way of doing things from what previous coaches may have done.
There are, and I think I credit our kids. They trust the decisions that are being made, and there are some growing pains. But I pride myself in having like-minded individuals and fitting a culture. Oftentimes you can have coaches with a lot of experience and a lot of expertise and a lot of X and O's, right? They can do that, but it comes down to ultimately fit. Our values and things. Winning is a byproduct of high expectations and high support. Winning is a byproduct of culture, and right now we're building a culture. And I think we have established a culture, in the last couple of years that I've been here, especially to have like-minded individuals at the table. I mean, our coaches, our monthly coaches meetings, we have good, open, adult conversations on how we're going to impact kids, not win games, impact kids. And I think that's the fun part about coming to work every day and knowing that we've got coaches in place that do that. Our cross-country team just got back from a trip. They go on an annual trip up to Northeast Ohio. Now, our head coach is from Northeast Ohio. I think it's a little selfish, but Brett gets these guys an experience that they're not often going to have.
Right. I mean,
getting them out of the city limits, doing an overnight trip, becoming a team. Anytime you get those experiences at the high school level, and that's what extracurriculars is all about. Right. Extracurriculars is all about enhancing the high school experience. The books and everything is part of it, but also, I'm a strong believer in the fact that extracurriculars enhance that high school experience. It sets you up. Mm-hmm. They teach you all the little things, the nuances in life, and that's what we're here to do. And with Brett doing those types of trips every year, the coaches have all the support for our kids. We're heading in a good way right now, and I feel very blessed and privileged to be a part of this because it's fun.
And a big part of that is football coach Lee Johnson. Lee, we haven't really brought you into the conversation yet.
Hey, how you doing?
Let's talk about the football team some. Big game coming up against Edgewood.
Yeah, they finished last year as the conference champion.
Okay.
So it's a good test. We started the conference play this week after having a really challenging first half of the schedule. playing against some upper-level teams. So we're prepared ourselves, I guess, to put us in a good situation where we can handle a team like this who experience success, have a good program, run a good offense and defense. They're in the same situation we are in, replacing a bunch of starters from last year's team.
Okay.
So they got some guys that hadn't seen a lot of action, just like us. Should be a competitive battle, and I look forward to the opportunity. Like our coaches look forward to the opportunity, our players look forward to the opportunity where they can show everybody, what we've been doing all summer.
Did you have bigger losses on offense or defense, or kind of spread out?
Well, all the way across the board.
Okay.
We replaced a lot of kids that played a lot of ball over the last 2 years. Like a starting quarterback from last year, is gone. Leading rusher from last year is gone. Leading receiver from last year is gone. Right now, we're starting one senior on the offensive line, one senior on the defensive line.
Wow, it's a young team.
Yeah, real young team. But I think the kids had a good offseason. They kind of raised the expectation. That's what everybody's been saying around here. We're trying to raise the expectation.
Right.
Having these kids vested, make them feel empowered, taking ownership of what we're going through and how to get to where we're trying to get to.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can see the rewards right now as far as the kids' behavior in the hallway, being leaders outside of the locker room. And we give them a little bit more leeway because, they earned that. So
Right.
we'll see it this season, how that impacts our football team and the growth we're trying to make and the expectations we're trying to raise.
So you got 5 straight home games, as Susan referenced earlier. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean,
I think it's a good thing. Last year we was on the road. It seemed like for 5 straight weeks.
Okay.
We were.
And the kids
Really?
and the kids they still asking, hey, we still play at home this week? Like, yeah. But I think it gets some continuity going into the conference play. Gets us to play in front of our own crowd. We've been successful at home for the last 2 years, especially with everything that's been done as far as remodeling the castle, establish some type of tradition. They look forward to Friday nights, interacting within the community. So I think it's a good thing.
when the season comes to a close for you, what will you look back on and say we were success because of blank? How would you characterize that?
Well, I think the biggest thing I'm looking forward is guys raising their expectations, saying that, hey, this is what I want to accomplish and this is how I'm going to get there. For our seniors, looking at having a plan for the next year, whether it be playing college ball or going to, a university, as long as they know that, hey, they got something out there they want to achieve and they start to work towards it. That's what I'm looking for as far as being successful.
That's great. I think that's all the topics that I had on our list to cover. Anything else you want to bring up? Anybody? Susan or Brad or Lee?
No, I think I just want to take a minute and say thanks to our crew back here.
Definitely.
Our Butler Tech digital media crew. I mean, these guys have, and Mr. Yergin, just been tremendous in working with and promoting things along the way, whether it be shooting a commercial year one for Building Camelot or just promoting our programs. These guys our digital media kids are at every football game, and they attend all of our contests throughout the year, getting pictures and putting things out there. And it's a treat to have these guys in the building, and we're spoiled because of it, I think. So
Yeah, it's an
opportunities to do stuff like
situation
this
for sure, because they get something out of it, but you also
Yeah.
have nice things to look at and listen to and so forth and be part of. Like I said, and it's been quite some time since I've been here, and it's really impressive to see the facilities here that we're here as part of the digital media program. I mean, this looks like something you'd see down at CCM or something at UC. I mean, It's very, very impressive.
We're excited to have it. We're also excited to have you here hosted, man.
Yes, yeah.
It's a lot
Long.
of fun. It's
Yeah.
my pleasure. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. It's always fun for me to talk. I made a living for a few years doing that, so it's great to sit here with you guys. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out. And I guess we're going to try to do it about once a month.
Once a month, yeah. We're
That's
excited
great.
about this. So
Looking forward to future programs, and we're going to get it, I think, out on iTunes is the plan.
that's the plan.
If you're listening to this, obviously you have found it or wherever you found it. So, but if you could share the word, spread the word, share it with other people you know who would find something about Northwest High School interesting. We want to grow this as much as we can.
Absolutely.
So, well, thanks to everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And we'll see you next month.
Yep.